Salute BookTube, welcome to my channel. Thank you for being here. It occurred to me that in my last video I had recorded, and I'm recording this one on is Sunday, Easter Sunday, and I had forgotten to mention a happy Easter to all of my viewers. I know a lot of them do celebrate Easter, and it completely slipped my mind because us in the Islamic world, Easter, we're clueless really what it's all about. All we do know is that there was a certain Jesus who was resurrected, um, and that's when Easter is celebrated. Of course, we are also aware that Jesus came to the world as the Prince of Peace to bring peace and succor to the world. But here we find in this Easter very much a destructive war going on. And the perpetrator of that war has used Jesus Christ as a rallying call and has claimed that Jesus Christ is on his side and the side of the American troops in this war that they started. That's this Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, who made a speech, very disturbing one, claiming that Jesus Christ is on their side in this great, I don't know what you call it, war, crusade. And it's funny because Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense Hegseth, Secretary of War Hegseth, he's very controversial. He's got on his chest, he's got a big Crusader tattoo, which is interesting because that Crusader cross, that's not a Christian thing. That's a political statement. It's not a Christian statement. The Crusades was not. The propagandists who started the Crusades said it was a holy war, but it wasn't. It wasn't a holy war. It was a political war. The Crusader states that was established by fundamental Christians in the 11th century mirrors the similar Zionist state that was set up in exactly the same place, which is also a political movement, not a religious movement for Jews who want to go back to their sacred homeland. It's a political movement. This idea that the Crusades or the Jews or even the Muslims who also claim the Holy Land for themselves, this idea that they're doing it for religious reasons is, the Crusades wanted to take over the Holy Land because that's where Jesus walked. He walked in Jerusalem and he was curing the blind and the lame. Or that the Jews, the Temple of Solomon is there, or even is it Solomon or David? Temple of Solomon, or the Muslims as well. The idea that the Prophet Muhammad ascended to Jerusalem, and from there he ascended to heaven on a unicorn. Like it's all they're there for political reasons, not for religious reasons. They're not there because it's a holy place. They're there because that land, the Holy Land, is geostrategically important and economically important. It's on the crossroads of global pathways. They've got Asia to your rear, you've got Europe just to your north, and you've got the riches of Africa just to your south, and you control the whole Eastern Mediterranean. It's a agriculturally rich land, so it's a political movement, not a religious one. So these evocations of this holy time, Easter and using religion to fight for this again geostrategically very important, very agriculturally rich land, the Holy Land. Anyway, I don't want to turn this into another rant at the beginning. I want to finish this video quickly. I don't think you guys want another super long video from me. What this video is my TBR for April 2026. What I plan to read in April 2026. And this talk about Crusades and the Holy Land and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth's tattoo, excuse me, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth's Crusader tattoo. It actually leads me to what I'm planning to read, because April 2026 heralds the Q2 of Historathon, the second quarter of Historathon. For those of you who don't know, Historathon is a year-long reading event in which we are encouraged to read history books, and the year is divided into 4 quarters. The first quarters began covers from the beginning of time until 500 CE or AD, seeing that we're in Easter, AD, that period, mostly antiquity. Quarter 2 starts from 500 CE to 1500 CE. That covers mostly the Middle Ages. And for that, I think I'm going to be reading the Crusades. But before I show the books I'm planning to read, or not my pile of possibilities, what I hope to read for Historathon Q2, I just wanted to make a shout out to the founders of Historathon. Well, the founder is Vin at Revenant Reads, but he's got a bunch of co-conspirators, 4 other channels. I won't list them now, but I will list them in the description below. Please do check out their channels, because they're really working hard to maintain this Historathon reading event. And I think when they started it, when I was just a viewer of BookTube, it was a very small sort of reading event. It's gone now. They've got hundreds and hundreds of participants, booktubers participating in Historathon, but also on their Discord. They've got a Discord where they discuss they discuss Historathon. So they're doing a lot of hard work from their busy schedules, maintaining this event that we all love. So please do check out their channels. I know I'm not very active on the Discord. Maybe time zone differences, but I do check in from time to time, and I see that if you don't have a BookTube channel, but you want to get involved and you want to discuss through Discord with chats, there's a lot of recommendations, a lot of what books to read, book discussions on the Discord. Or if you're a booktuber and you're making Historathon content, just keep those guys in mind and check out their channels. Again, I'll link them below. See what they're doing for Historathon, what their TBRs are like, or check out the Discord if you want to get involved and you don't have a BookTube channel. But just with that, I do want to show you some of the books I do plan to read for Q2. Again, this is a pile of possibilities. I don't think I'm going to read all of these in April in 1 month, but I'll decide probably from this pile what to read and when. The first book, and I think this is the book because it's the most overarching, large narrative history of the Crusades that I have, probably a good place to start, I believe, is Thomas Asbridge's The Crusades. The War for the Holy Land is the subtitle, pretty self-explanatory. Just a big narrative about the Crusades. The other thing, just before I go on, I do recall I'm seeing a lot of channels, and many people are focusing on the Crusades for Q2. I don't know what it is. It's just suddenly there's been an interest in the Crusades from somewhere. I think, again, a lot of it has to do with the historical parallels. As I mentioned, what the Crusades was a Christian fundamentalist movement in 12th century Europe, which had convinced Europeans to go and attack, invade, and colonize the Holy Land, which has then been controlled by the Muslims, as God's duty, as a religious duty. And that it parallels a lot of what is going on in the Holy Land now. What do you have now? You have a political Zionist entity, a fundamentalist Jew who convinced other Jews that it is your religious duty to um, 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 invade, settle, and colonize the Holy Land. Um, and again, history almost repeating itself. That's how the Muslims see it. We see the Zionist entity, Israel, as exactly a latter-day Crusades. So this isn't new to us. This, the creation of the State of Israel, the colonization and invasion of the Holy Land, this is not new to us. 1,000 years ago, this happened. Our great, 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 great grandfathers and mothers, our grandparents, fought again a fundamentalist religious movement that insisted on you know on invading and controlling the Holy Land for religious purposes, when, as we know, these are political movements to control a very geostrategically important part of the world. So anyway, I'm very pleased if anybody, there's somehow we can do some kind of cooperation reading about the Crusades. I know a lot of channels want to read the Crusades. Do let me know. Maybe we can arrange something, but I think I'm leaning towards this as my first book for the Crusades, for Historathon Q2, but we'll see. We'll see. Because the other books that I have that are related to the Crusades they deal mostly with the latter part of the Crusades, the end of the Crusades. So I don't know if it's a good idea to start with these in April. Maybe again I'll read a more comprehensive, overarching historical narrative, and then go into the more detailed sort of subjects or aspects of the Crusades. A good example of the more specific books and smaller books about the Crusades. This one is by John D. Hostler, and it's called The Siege of Acre, or Akka in Arabic, 1189 to 1191. The subtitle is Saladin, Richard the Lionheart, and the Battle that Decided the Third Crusade. So this is the Third Crusade. This is towards the end. This is really the Crusaders' last stand in the Holy Land, the Crusade in the Holy Land. So this again deals with the end. Not a big book, but interesting, fascinating subject. And the other book is about exactly the same subject matter. This is by Roger Crowley, and it's called The Accursed Tower, the Crusades' Last Battle for the Holy Land. Again, towards the end of the Crusades. But both these books, I don't know if it's a good idea to start at the end. I think better to start at the beginning and then move to the end. That's usually how history works, but we'll see. I have two other books, and these are biographies. And again, it deals with a figure, one of the more well-known, probably the most well-known figure in the Crusades. But again, this figure, he appears again towards the end of the Crusades. So I don't know if it's a good idea to start with reading these biographies. I might leave these for later in Q2 of Historathon. And these two biographies, I've got a very old one and a much more recent one. We'll start with the old one. The old one was actually, you can't see anything on the cover, it's a naked hardcover, but this book actually belonged to my grandfather, and I've inherited it. And it's, when is this published? 1964. So there's nothing on the cover, but on the side it's Saladin, and the author, the author is Lane Poole, Stanley Lane Poole. Older biography of Saladin. And then the other book I have is much more recent. It's by Jonathan Phillips. It's The Life and Legend of the Sultan Saladin. Again, Saladin is the anglicized, in Arabic it's Salah ad-Din. Again, much more recent biography. But like I said, Saladin comes at the end of, if I've got my history correct, he comes towards the end of the Crusades. So the early parts, I don't know if these are a good place to start. I don't know. I need to think about it. But why I wanted to read these biographies, and I wanted to read them in April. is for another event in April. That's People April 2026. Um, and what is People April? It's a booktube event where you're encouraged to read biographies, autobiographies, memoirs, diaries, that kind of thing, focusing on people. So these two books, kill two birds with one stone. This covers Historathon Q2 and their biographies. But like I said, I'm worried. I'm not sure if this is a good place to start. But for People April, I do have two books that I do want to read unrelated to Historathon, which I'm also hoping to do as a buddy read with my friend JJ, the bookworm blacksmith, my good friend on BookTube. I'll link her channel. You should check out her channel as well. That being said, People April, before I do show the books, I have forgotten, I should have done this before. The person who started People April deserves credit. I should have mentioned it, but I completely forgot to double check the channel name. It'll be linked in the description. I'll also link, I do know that there are moderators who are managing the People April event, and I'll link that. I'll link them in the description below as well. They deserve recognition. But going back to my friend JJ, we had decided to do a buddy read of a memoir and of a diary, a diary. And I had suggested we do it for People April because that's what People April is all about. The first book is the Memoirs of Queen Noor. It's called Leap of Faith. Memoirs of an Unexpected Life. And there she is, Queen Noor, and that is the King of Jordan on their motorcycle. He was a bit of a adrenaline speed aficionado. There in the background is the beautiful deserts of Jordan. Queen Noor was an Arab American, but American girl, young lady who caught the king's eye. And yeah, I guess it's kind of has a little fairy tale kind of edge to it. Suburban American girl becomes a princess, becomes a queen. I don't know why JJ wants to read this, but she was making she was making noise about wanting to read this. I'm not the biggest fan. Not the biggest fan of the Hashemite Jordanian royal family, but JJ really wanted to read this. People April was coming up. I found this in the bookstore. I suggested to JJ we should buddy read this. I'm still waiting for her confirmation if she's still down to do this. I know we're already 1 week into April. We should have started this a week ago. But knowing JJ's prolific reading, I'm sure she will catch up and we should be able to finish this before the end of the month. Again, assuming that JJ still wants to buddy read it with me. The second book is the diary. This is very popular, very famous. I think most of you, my readers, are well read. You'll know this. This is Anne Frank, The Diary of a Young Girl. Again, fits into People April. I've heard about this. I've never read it cover to cover, but I've heard of it. I think it's taught a lot in schools, I think, in North America at least. That's what I've heard. But I haven't read it from cover to cover. Again, I think well-known tragic story of a young girl hiding from young Dutch Jewish girl hiding from the Nazis who were rounding up Jews to send to concentration camps. I don't think I'm spoiling anything when I say it has a very tragic ending. But again, it's a classic. Again, JJ also mentioned she wanted to read this. I said, how will we do it for a buddy read for People April? Tentatively, she agreed. I'm still waiting, but hoping to read this as well in conjunction with JJ. And then what do we do next? So that's Historathon Q2 covered. We covered People April. The next reading project is a personal reading project. In 2026, I had decided, or I was compelled to begin reading Russian lit. So my reading project, Russian Lit 2026, is just me hoping to get into Russian literature. So I began the year. I read Bulgakov, Master and Margarita. I've read a book of Russian fairy tales. I've read One Day in the Life of Ivan Ilyich Tolstoy's small short story. I was supposed to, for March and the Mammoth, I was supposed to read this, War and Peace by Tolstoy. That was the plan. But when I had made that plan, we were living in a world of peace. And then when I started it the very next day or the same day, we were a world at war. So I wasn't able to commit to this because this is a commitment. I don't know. So I couldn't read this in March because again, for those who don't know, I'm based in the United Arab Emirates. We're in the middle of a war. So it wasn't, I couldn't, there was a lot going on. I couldn't commit to this. I'm thinking maybe to postpone this and read this in April. That was what I was thinking until another booktube channel I'm watching, that I watch regularly, Vince at Traumatic Tomes. He has started a book club, and his book club is called the Traumatic Bookclub, and they do focus. He specializes in reading traumatic sort of stories and traumatic literature, I guess you can call it. So for the first month, it was February or March, February, I guess. I think he does it every other month. We read All Quiet on the Western Front, which was a very traumatic read. For April, he's decided to read this book, Alexander Solzhenitsyn, One Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich. Sorry about the glare. This is a copy I just have. I don't have a hard copy of the book. I've been looking for it here in the used bookshop. I haven't found it, so I might Kindle or maybe buy it at the new bookstore. This is the story, another traumatic story of life. It's a fictionalized, novelized account of life in I believe the Soviet Gulag system. Again, apparently very traumatic. So this fits in perfectly with Traumatic Book Club. The Traumatic Book Club, it fits perfectly with my Russian Lit 2026 reading project, because this is a work of Russian literature. So I'm thinking that this will take priority in April, and then I'll probably do War and Peace, push it maybe May, June, the summer. Maybe read this in the summer. I think the summer is when I can hopefully get into this and commit to it. So that's Russian Lit 2026, as well as the Traumatic Tomes book club. I'll link Vince's channel. You should check it out if you're interested in joining his book club and reading One Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich. I'm sure he'll welcome you with open arms. The last reading project I have, a personal reading project, 2026 is the 250th anniversary of the United States. And I've been reading books about, the plan was, if you haven't noticed, I mostly read nonfiction, mostly history. My plan was to read 2026, to read American history books. Not just history, but non-fiction books about America, American politics, American society, American economics, and American history. The American history, I think, will come more in the second half of 2026, because it's really, I'll combine it with Historathon Q3 and 4, because most of American history, at least the post-Columbian American history, is after Q3 Historathon, after 1500. Before that, I've been reading a lot of books about American politics, economics, society, that kind of stuff. I've got two books maybe I hope to read in April. The first one is by Anand Giri Daharadas. The title is The True American. Again, the glare. The subtitle is Murder and Mercy in Texas. You can see this is an older book. It's age now. It's from 2014. It's 100 notable books. New York Times 100 notable books of 2014. The True American. I think I'll read the back cover because I know very little about this. It says days after 9/11, an avowed American terrorist named Mark Stroman, seeking revenge, walks into a Dallas mini mart and shoots Rasuddin Bhuiyan, a Bangladeshi immigrant, maiming and nearly killing him. 10 years after the shooting, Bhuiyan wages a campaign against the state of Texas to have his attacker spared from the death penalty. The True American is a rich, colorful, profoundly moving exploration of the American dream and its many dimensions. So, again, a heavy read, not something very comforting, but again, I picked this up at the time. It looked interesting. I've had this for a while, and I just never got to it. So I'm thinking now is a good time to just knock this out. It might be. We'll see if it's any good. I don't know. I've never heard of this story, but it sounds interesting, I guess, if that's the right word. And then the last book we'll discuss here is also related to the Read America 250th anniversary reading project. I'm becoming an expert on this era. This is 60s, 70s, 80s America. These are more American politics and society books, but the 60s, the 70s, 80s are slowly becoming history. This one is by Daniel Robert McClure. It's called Winter in America. And the subtitle is A Cultural History of Neoliberalism from the 60s to the Reagan Revolution. And I think neoliberalism here, I believe, means neoconservative. Neoconservative in foreign policy, neoliberal in domestic policy. And I think this is, it covers the 60s, the 70s, and probably the early 80s. And that transformation, America, most of the 20th century, from the 30s onwards, was a leftist country. It was the country of the New Deal and the Great Society. It was very much a left-wing country. And then in the 80s, it switched, it flipped, and became a right-wing country. You had Ronald Reagan, and then you had Southern Democrat Bill Clinton and Newt Gingrich, and then you had George W. Bush, and then there were interspersed, but you had Trump after that. Very big switch, big transformation in America, and I think that transformation almost sudden. Again, I think that's the subject of this book. So yeah, I'll be excited to read it. But yeah, I think I should wrap this up. Okay, still relatively long, but at least under half an hour. Thank you so much if you made it this far. Please do check out the channels that I've mentioned, especially the Historathon people. They're doing a lot of work to keep Historathon going, so I do appreciate it. I will wrap up this video. I will thank you for watching this, and I'll say salute, BookTube.